to take a minute here and talk about corrections and the difference between formal obedience corrections and corrections for inappropriate pack behavior. Formal obedience corrections are used during your formal training where you're teaching the dog to sit, to down, to come. In formal obedience, we say, never correct a dog unless he understands 100% what you're asking him to do. In other words, the dog has to have gone through a learning phase. Now, when we're talking about inappropriate pack behavior, we're talking about issues of dominant dogs, we're talking about issues of handler aggression, aggression towards other dogs, inappropriate behavior related to pack drive, like jumping up and humping people's legs. These are issues that need to be corrected all the time. So they don't apply to the concept of never correct a dog unless he knows 100% what you want. The fact is that you should be able to say no, and the dog should stop doing what he's doing when we're talking about inappropriate behavior related to pack drive. When I talk to people about dominant and aggressive dogs, we need to be a little careful here because if a dominant dog growls at you, growling is not altogether a bad behavior on a dog. Look at it, it's not a good behavior, but it's a fair behavior because it's a way for you to read your dog. Growling is a way for a dog to say, I'm uncomfortable with this situation. So I'm not always sure that correcting for growling is something that you should consider. You should look at the environment that the dog is in when he starts to growl and say, oh, I have to deal with this. I tell people that 99% of the people that get bit because they didn't read their dog correctly first. So with that said, growling is a part of reading your dog. Now let's take that a step further. Let's say that your dog jumps past the growling section and is absolutely being barking and aggressive or nipping. That requires a correction every single time. And the level of correction needs to be strong enough so that the next time that dog thinks about being aggressive in that manner, it remembers that correction. Here's an example. Let's say that your dog growls at your in-laws when they come over. Okay, what does that tell you? That tells you we have a problem here. The dog just told us that we have a problem here. So what are we going to do about the problem? Well, the solution is put the dog away when the in-laws come over. Put him in a dog crate. Don't allow the dog to socialize with these people when they come over. Here's another example. The in-laws come over, there was no growling, and the dog nips at your father-in-law or your mother-in-law. That requires a strong correction. And if they come over 3 days later and the dog does the same thing, well, your correction on day one wasn't hard enough because the dog doesn't respect you enough. You're the pack leader. You're the one that determines who you should be aggressive to. You're the one that determines when you fight, when you don't fight, not your dog. And the dog needs to learn that. And if your correction is not hard enough on day one, I will guarantee you that 3 days later, when the same people come and you put your dog in the same environment, he's going to nip them again. But if that correction was hard enough, he's going to think, ooh, I better not do that because I don't want my butt getting kicked the way that it got kicked on Monday. It just wasn't worth me being aggressive to him. With that said, probably the smartest thing to do, after you give the appropriate correction for biting and nipping, when people come over, you shouldn't put that dog out. I mean, it's just not good sense to leave the dog out. It should be put in a dog crate. Or it should not be an environment where you don't have control of it 100% all the time. So back to the very beginning here, we have corrections for formal obedience. We don't correct a dog for not coming if he doesn't know what the word come means. That's just common sense. But if we have a dog that jumps up on somebody's leg and starts to hump him, and you say no, and he doesn't stop, that dog needs to be taken down a notch. That dog needs to get a correction, even though maybe he's never done that before. There is no learning process that a dog goes through here. It's a genetic process that you're the pack leader, and he needs to do what you tell him to do. So you have to set this all up correctly. If you'd like to watch some of the free streaming videos that I have on my website, you can go to this web address now. I have a number of free streaming training videos and then a number of product videos also.